What's up guys? Welcome back to another WSOP vlog. Today I actually have the day off. I have no tournaments to play. So first I'm going to go into Prague to do a little bit of exploring, and then the plan is to play the 250 Hyper Turbo and then the 400 Hyper Turbo Bounty. Those are the last two tournaments that I'm going to play on this trip. I'm really excited to play them. I don't ever play bounties, so it'll be really fun to play. And yeah, but firstly, let's do a bit of exploring in Prague. So we take our seat in the 250 Hyper Turbo tournament, and the dealer hands us our starting stack of 10,000. We get straight into the action, so fast that I haven't even set my camera up yet, but I did note the hand histories, so I'm still going to go over them now. In the first hand, I pick up Jack 8 suited in the button. The cutoff opens to 300, and I decide to make the call. The small blind then puts in the raise to 800. And when the cutoff folds, I think that a suited connected jack can't fold for this small raise, so I decide to make the call. So we go heads up to a flop, which comes King Jack 2. It's obviously nice to flop a pair, but he could still have a lot more stronger King X or Jack X than I do. However, he now slows down and checks. And I think I can either check or bet here, but I decided to go on the more aggressive side and bet 800. He decides to make the call, and we go off to a turn, which comes a 6. When he checks, I think our jack is not strong enough to bet again, so I check back. The river now comes a 3, which doesn't change the board very much, and he now bets out for 1,000. I think a king or a jack could go for value on this river card, so I'm just thinking about if my jack might be strong enough. Overall, I think my decision came back to the flop action. When he doesn't c-bet the flop, I don't think he has a king a lot of the time, so I just decide to make the call. He then shows ace high, and we take down the first pot of the tournament. The very next hand, I look down at pocket sixes in the cutoff. The low jack opens to 300, and with my pair, I decide to make the call. Everyone else folds, so we go heads up to a flop, which comes 10-6-2, so we just flop to set. He then throws out a c-bet of 400, and with my super strong hand, I want to start building the pot now, so I raise it up to 1,300. He makes the call, which is great to see, and the turn comes a king. When he checks to me, I think the king is a good card to continue my aggression, as he's going to have some king x hands, which will always continue when facing a bet. So I throw out a bet of 3,000. He makes the call, and the river comes a 3. Again, this card doesn't really change the board very much. Of course, it brings in 5-4 for a straight, but I don't really think he's opening that from the low jack. When he checks to me, my hand is definitely strong enough to go for it all, so I go all in. This sends him into the tank, and of course, I'm crossing my fingers hoping for a call, but unfortunately, he ends up letting it go. It's sad not to get the double, but I'm still happy to take down the pot. And we're off to a pretty hot start in this tournament. I finally have my camera set up now, and then we look down at ace 10 in the big blind. The cutoff opens to 500, and when it folds to me, I decide to defend. So we go heads up to a flop, which comes Jack 10-3, 2 clubs and a diamond. I check it over to the aggressor, and he puts out a bet of 600. Of course, I have a pair, so I'm never folding, so I make the call. The turn now comes the Queen of Hearts, which I'm not too happy to see as it brings another overcard to our pair, but it does also give us a gut shot to a straight. I of course check again, and this time he throws out a bet of 1,300. With my pair plus straight combo, I think we have to continue, and 1,300 seems like a good price, so I throw in my chips for a call. That's when the river comes the King of Clubs. We now hit a straight, but it does bring in the front door flush. And when I check to him, he goes all in. I think a straight is definitely strong enough to go all in, even though the flush did get there. So if he has a flush, then take my chips. I obviously make the call. That's when he shows 6-3 offsuit for a bluff. We take down another huge pot, and our stack is looking pretty big now. We're off to a great start in this tournament, but one hand could change everything. The blinds are now up to 100, 300, and I look down at King 10 suited in the hijack. When it folds to me, I put in the raise to 600. It then folds to the big blind, who puts in a 3-bet to 2,600. I think King 10 suited is definitely strong enough to call a 3-bet, especially with the ante, so I make the call. The flop comes King 10-5, 2 spades and a club. So we just flopped top 2 pair. We are running so hot, and even better, the big blind puts out a c-bet of 1,500. I think this is a great spot to raise, as he can have hands like ace-king that will definitely call, so I put in the raise to 3,500. That's when he does something really unexpected, and he goes all in for 9,300. This is really surprising, as obviously I have a really strong hand, but not many people are 3-betting, let alone 3-bet jamming, without something strong. It passes through my head that he might have kings or 10s, but I do block those with my king and 10. Even though his line seems really nutted, I of course can't fold top 2 pair, so I make the call. And that's when I see we're up against aces. So we're just hoping for no 5 or no ace. The turn brings the 7 of hearts. And then the river brings the 7 of clubs. So now he has a better 2 pair. This was super tilting for him to go runner, better 2 pair. And now we've just lost a massive chunk of our stack. And we went from being one of the biggest stacks at the table to one of the smallest. As I'm such a short stack, it's time to go all in or fold. I find myself all in with king queen against ace 10, so I'm hoping for a king or a queen. The flop and the turn bring no help, but then a king on the river secures the double up. I'm then all in again with king 2 of diamonds. Now listen, I can't really remember the action to this hand, so I'm not really sure how I got all in with king 2 of diamonds, but let's just watch and see what happens. We're up against ace queen, and again, the flop and the turn bring no help. But then a 2 on the river gives us a pair and we win the hand. So I entered the Hyper Turbo 250 and it's been crazy action, I guess because we are so short stacked. We started with 10k and the blinds are every 15 minutes. So yeah, they seem to go really quick. I was on a hot start and then that hand with aces, that was annoying. Like I'm so far ahead there. He just runner on me. Very upsetting. And then losing more, and then winning more, and then losing more. So this is the first break. The late break is already over, or it will be over at the end of the break. And we've got 10 big blinds coming back. But I mean, everyone is so like, I guess shallow because of the nature of the tournament. So we just need to like double it again, maybe double it again. And then yeah, we've got a chance, but I'll keep you guys updated on progress in a bit. Bye. We come back from break with about 10 big blinds, and due to this hyper turbo format, people just keep dropping out like flies. Rebuys are over and we're about 30 away from the money when I pick up pocket threes. The big blind makes the call and we see that we're up against king queen. But unfortunately for me, the flop comes out and gives him trip queens. So I'm out of the tournament. I was obviously really sad to bust, but I still had a lot of fun playing this tournament. All of the people were really nice and really friendly, and it was a lot less pressure than playing the main event and the ladies event. So all I can do is brush it off and get ready to play the 400 Hyper Turbo Bounty. I never play bounty tournaments, but I heard there's a lot of action, so let's go. We hop into the 400 Hyper Turbo Bounty, and again, we have 10,000 in our starting stack, and the blinds start at 100, 200. And it's not long before we look down at King 9 suited in under the gun. I decide to open to 500, and the small blind and big blind both make the call. The flop comes ace 8-6, and when they check to me, I decide to put out a c-bet of 600. The small blind is the only one to make the call, so we go heads up to a turn, which comes a jack. When they check to me, I was hoping to take it down on the flop, so of course I'm just going to give up and check back. The river then comes the 9 of clubs, which now gives us some value, and he now throws out a bet of 2,000. I always get into tricky spots when the river gives me a pair, and I think sometimes this might be good. I decide to sigh and make the call, and then he shows 7-5 of clubs for a straight. This is not the best way to start this tournament, but let's hope we can turn it around. As we only started the tournament with 10,000, losing a few hands can be really detrimental, and now we only have about 5,000 in our stack when we look down at pocket tens in the low jack. The blinds are now up to 100, 300, and when it folds to me, I open to 600. The cutoff then goes all in for 4,300. And when it folds back to me, of course, I make the call and we could win our first bounty. We see that we're up against ace queen, so we've just got to hold. The flop comes jack 9-4, which is great to see. And a 4 on the turn and an 8 on the river secures our win and we get our first bounty. This was a nice one to win as it gave a nice boost to our stack and we're now back to just about starting stack. A few hands later, we look down at 9-8 suited in the big blind. The cutoff opens to 700 and the small blind makes the call. With my suited connected hands, I decide to make the call. So we go 3 ways to a flop which comes king jack 2, 2 clubs, giving us the flush draw. It checks to the cutoff, who puts out a c-bet of 1,000. The small blind folds, and when the action's on me, I have a choice whether to just call or raise. On these high card flops, I don't think there's a lot of raising from out of position, as the high cards definitely favour in position's range. If the board was like king 6-2, then I would definitely put in the raise with my flush draw, but he just has too strong of a range for me to raise in this position. So I just decide to call the 1,000. The turn comes the ace of spades, which is not a great card to see. He can have a lot of strong hands like aces, ace king, ace queen, and obviously kings and jacks. Overall, this board is just a lot better for him. So when I check it over, I need to decide if I want to continue to chase my flush draw. As expected, he puts in another bet of 1,500. I think this bet is kind of small, and I have the opportunity to still hit a flush on the river for a pretty decent price. So I decide to make the call. The river comes the 10 of spades, so we completely brick. And when I check to him, he goes all in, and of course, we fold. We lose a little bit more of our stack, which is not great as the blinds are up again to 200, 400. I then look down at ace queen offsuit in the cutoff. The under the gun and the hijack both decide to limp, and of course I want to put in a raise and I make it 1,200. The button then puts in another raise to 3,600. And when the under the gun and hijack both fold, I think ace queen off is good enough for all of it, so I go all in. The button makes the call and we see that we're up against ace jack of clubs. So no club or no jack. The flop comes 8-4-3, 1 club. I'm happy to not see a jack. But then the turn brings the 2 of clubs for the flush draw sweat. But the 7 of diamonds on the river secures me the win and we get a nice boost to our stack. I wish I could say that this was a turning point for us and we went on a sun run and built up a huge stack. But unfortunately, I went card dead for a long time, all the way up to the 600, 1,200 blind level. With about 10 big blinds left, I look down at pocket fives on the button. The under the gun 1 player decides to go all in and he has about 8,000 in his stack. I think any pair is probably good enough to go all in with 10 big blinds, so I decide to go all in. That's when the small blind also goes all in and he covers the both of us, and now I'm not feeling good. The under the gun 1 player shows pocket 8s, I obviously have pocket 5s, and the small blind shows ace king. So at the very least, I just need to avoid an ace or a king and I'll still be in the tournament. But unfortunately for me, the flop brings a king, and it also brings an 8, so we're not even drawing to a 5 for the scoop. The turn and the river are no help, and we are out. Womp womp. We busted. It was so fun though. Like, those like fast-paced tournaments, I don't know, they're just good fun. And I did get 1 bounty, so a little discount on the tournament entry. But yeah, it was still fun nonetheless. Yeah, unfortunate. I think we can definitely we can definitely shove 5s there for like 10 big blinds. So just unfortunately he woke up with ace king and the other guy woke up with 8s. So unlucky is what it is. But yeah, that's the end of my tournaments. The end of my tournament trip at WSOP Europe. I had the greatest time. It was so fun. It was really nice getting to meet some of you guys. Like, it was crazy. The first day I came, just after I registered, some guy from South Africa came up to me and he said, "Yulia, I watch your videos." And I was like, whoa, that's crazy. And then a couple of other people like come up to me saying that they watch my videos, including Annette, WSOP winner, legend, watches my videos. Crazy. She's so nice. But yeah, I've had the greatest time in Prague, and I'm gonna go back to the UK now, and I'll be back to the cash streets. Lots of cool things to come, guys. So I'm so excited. So yeah, make sure to like this video, subscribe. There's a link in my bio to all my other socials and stuff. So yeah, make sure to follow along. Oh, you can see my sickness medicine in the background. That's so embarrassing. I've been really ill the last couple of days, so apologies if you met me and I made you sick. Sorry. Yeah, I diverted off track. Link in bio for all stuff. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next vlog. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for following along. Oh my God, I can't speak. Thank you for following along on my journey. I really appreciate it. And yeah, I'll see you guys then. Bye. Before I close out, I know that there were a few questions on the expenses and stuff for the trip, so I thought I would quickly break that down now. I did have a package for this trip, which covered a ticket to the main event, the ladies event, and also covered my hotel fees. So when it came to tournament buy-ins, I did have to pay for my second bullet to the ladies event and the Hyper Turbo 250 and the Hyper Turbo Bounty 400. I did end up selling some action for the ladies event because 1,000 is quite a lot of money. So personally for me, it only cost 700. So overall, tournament buy-ins came to 1,350 euros. And for tournament cashes, I obviously cashed the ladies event, and my portion of that would have been £1,210, and then I did secure 1 bounty in the mystery bounty 400, and that was 100 euros. So overall for tournament cashes was 1,310 euros. So I was pretty much break even when it came to tournament losses and wins, but the real expenses came down to the travel. If you guys saw my first vlog, you would have known that I had some trouble with my flights, and I had to book whole new flights to get to Prague, which overall cost me £1,300. I also had to eat while I was in Prague, so I probably spent between £100 and £150 on food and drink. So overall, taking into account all my tournament buy-ins, tournament cashes, and all of my expenses, I probably lost close to £1,200 on the trip. However, I do not regret going at all. As I said, I had a really fun time at this event, and I think it helped me a lot as a poker player. I don't really have the opportunity to play these massive events a lot of the time, so to have this opportunity was priceless. Again, thank you so much to WSOP for allowing me to film and share my journey with you guys, and I hope you guys enjoyed watching. For now, we're off back to the cash streets, but it won't be long until I'm back playing tournaments. And I want you guys to put in the comments below where you think I'll be off to next. Thank you so much to everyone who's been watching and supporting my journey. It really, really means the world to me. And if you like this video, please make sure to drop a like below and also hit subscribe. There's also a link below which will take you to all of my socials. So if you also want to follow my Instagram, then that would be great. I post videos every Sunday, so make sure to follow along for more poker content, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!